The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read. Your source for news, politics, sports, and all things trending. Here's your host, Marcus Gentry.
This method would be deadly. Experts estimate that less than 5% of people worldwide have had COVID-19. Yet scientists say to reach herd immunity, that number would have to be between 60 and 70%.
If we need to get to 60 or 70% infections, that's obviously more than 4 billion people getting infected. That would be tens of millions of people dying. It would be hundreds of millions of people getting very, very sick. It would be devastating.
And that was a doctor who is a epidemiologist. And he's telling you basically, people, that COVID-19, if we follow behind Donald Trump's plan of herd immunity, is going to kill millions of people. Now, this is going to be a deep show, and it's going to sound like I have deep animosity and hatred for somebody, but I don't. But I always like to keep it real with my community of people who follow my show. Donald Trump and some of his followers' hatred for people who don't look like them is going to get millions of those people killed. I'm going to explain that as the show goes on, because herd immunity plays a part in that. You see, the Republicans for the last 20, 30, 40 years have led a strategy of trying to fight the Democratic Party with all kinds of wild accusations, conspiracy theories. They've dibbled and dabbled in racism. They've been doing this ever since the Southern strategy back when Reagan was in office. And even beyond that, past that. The Republican Party has been hijacked and taken over by white supremacy. Some of the men and women who started it might not have been racist, but they knew they needed the votes. So they dibbled and dabbled in racism. But the racists have taken over their party. Their hatred is going to get a lot of people killed. Okay. Before I go too deep into this, I'm going to do my liquor tasting. I like to get that out the way. I also have a few things I want to say to Miss Joyce Ryder. She is a supporter of my show, and many people think I don't look at my emails and look at my comments, but I do. I see it all. Miss Joyce Ryder is a good supporter of my show. She's a good friend of mine. Very good person. And she brought something to my attention that I need to say something about. She agrees with my show. She loves my show, but she said, basically in a nutshell, you can't fight racism and bigotry, which is a good thing that you're doing, when you have the N-word in your outro. I never paid attention to it. And this is how deep racism is in this country. Bigotry can get so bad around you, in your life, in your family, that even with us blacks who consider ourselves not to be racist, not to have those type of views, we can be around the N-word and not say nothing or fight against it if we're using it or we're hearing it from other blacks. But as soon as a white person says it, we go crazy about it. I've recently updated my intro and my outro. I've taken the N-word, I've cut it out of my, I love the song, by the way. The song is about Crucial Conflict. I loved them as a group when I was younger. Those guys are still, to this day, can get on the microphone and, destroy half of the rappers that's out here today. I'm going to keep my outro, but I have deleted or negated the N-word out of my outro. So I want to thank you, Miss Joyce Ryder, and I thank you for supporting my show. And I hope you don't let that deter you, because I'm listening. When we talk, I listen. Even if I don't agree, I still listen. But in this particular case, I agree with you. And I have taken the N-word out of my outro. Now we're going to get into the liquor tasting. Now the liquor tasting for the day is called Old Camp. My guy Ali, he wasn't in the store when I went in there. He usually pulls something out that I've never drank before and asked me to try it. But I found this on the top shelf at the liquor store down the street from here. And it had dust on. I had to literally blow the dust off of it to find it, But it's called Old Camp. Old Camp. It has a picture of a wolf on it. It's called Peach Pecan Whiskey. It's 70 proof. Last week I had 90 proof. That was some rough stuff. It was called the Kraken. But this week it's called Old Camp Whiskey. It's Peach Pecan Whiskey. We're gonna see how this tastes. It's made here in the United States. It doesn't have too much more information on the bottle, but we finna check it out. Now this bottle right here costs $30. I try to when I buy my liquors, I try to maintain something that normal people would buy and can afford. I'm not going out here buying and tasting no $100 bottles or nothing because most people is not going into the liquor store trying to buy a $100 bottle of whiskey, unless you're one of those hip hop artists that already done made millions. Then you might splurge and show off. But most normal people who listen to my show, truck drivers and all, they go in maybe buy a $20 bottle or something, $40 bottle or something. So I try to keep my price range around the $30, $40 bottle range. So let's try this out. It has a licorice. It has almost a licorice smell to it. It has a licorice smell to it. Let's give it a taste test. You see, when I try these whiskeys and liquors on my show, I leave description in the bottom, at the bottom of the screen. If you follow me on YouTube, you can see the description of the bottle and the liquor at the bottom up under the comments. Let's try it out. Has kind of a medicine taste to it. Has a medicine taste to it. It's not like the Kraken like I had last week. It's more lighter. It's smoother. The Kraken was some rough stuff. It was some rough. I gave the Kraken a 9, I think. And mainly I gave it a 9 because if you really want to get down and party for $30 or less, go buy that. All you need is one bottle of that and you and about 5 other people can have a good time. But this right here, it's smoother and it has it says peach pecan, but it doesn't taste like peach. That's kind of false advertisement. It has almost like a peppermint taste to it, and it smells like licorice. Peppermint and licorice. I get at about an 8. And the reason I get at about an 8 is because it's false advertising. You guys, I've tasted some real peach flavored liquors out here. And that right there will fool you. You might want to go find some peach liquor because that's the type of flavor you like. And then you run across this and it tastes like an old peppermint. So I give it about an 8. Yeah, I give it about an 8. But let me get back to my show. People. Now, I played today's show is called the Trump administration's herd immunity. This is their new thing they got going on. It's herd immunity. This is some dangerous stuff. You got to understand why this is dangerous. And I'd like to lead everybody that watches my show around from the beginning of my show all the way to the end. I always tell you, watch the whole show all the way through, because then you'll start getting the idea of what's going on. You catch the first 5 minutes, 5, 10, 15 minutes of it, and you might get lost in the sauce. Herd immunity has never been done. The head of the World Health Organization came out, people. He came out and said, this is dangerous fringe stuff that we're talking about here. The Republican Party has always dealt with the fringe conspiracy theory type people, because most normal people in America has went over to the Democratic side. All of these fringe, lunatic, right-wing, religious nuts, religious zealots, gun nuts, racists, all of them people shifted over to the Republican side. And then you had those very few who are Republicans who don't think like them, but they deal with them because they need the votes. So now it done got out of hand. That's why you got this group called the Lincoln Project. Some of these men, you see them on CNN or MSNBC, they're called the Lincoln Project. These are old head Republicans, men and women who are not racist, okay? And they can't stand how their party has been taken over by racists. But what y'all don't get is, these are the same men who've been helping the Republicans win elections all across this country for 30, 40 years. They've been knowing about the racists and all the craziness that's going on in the Republican Party, but they put up with it for 20, 30, 40 years because of the votes. Now it's done got out of hand to the point where you got QAnon running crazy, putting up all kinds of wild, crazy stuff all on the internet about molesters and child people that eat children inside the Democratic Party, all kinds of foolishness. Then you got these right-wing militias trying to kidnap governors. Basically what I'm trying to tell you is, these men are trying to fight against Donald Trump and the people who have taken over their party, but they are the cause of it. The whole Lincoln Project, all of those men who are putting out advertisement and commercials about Donald Trump being bad, a bad, terrible president, these are the men who was in the background pushing people like George W. Bush, pushing people like George Bush Sr., pushing people like Ronald Reagan. These are the men who were behind the scenes dealing with all these racists, dealing with all these fringe nutcases for years, because they knew that their policies wasn't going to win over normal American citizens. So now that the crazies have taken over the Republican Party, they can't believe it. You had one person on there saying, man, I can't believe what my party done became. He said, man, I've never espoused racism. And I'm saying to myself, you've been a Republican for the last 30 years. What, you been hiding up under a rock? I'm finna get into some of these clips because Rachel Maddow, I love Rachel Maddow's show. She tells the real. Check this out.
But meanwhile, a White House official has just admitted to reporters on background, meaning the person won't use his name. That person has now admitted to reporters that the Trump policy for the country right now in coronavirus is what's known colloquially as herd immunity.
Now, these people are coming out admitting it, y'all. This is what they're pursuing, herd immunity. I just showed you the clip at the beginning of the show, the man talking about herd immunity. It's going to get a lot of people killed. A lot of people. Let's go deeper into this.
NIH Director Francis Collins said this, quote, "What I worry about with this is it's being presented as if it's a major alternative view that's held by large numbers of experts in the scientific community. That is not true. This is a fringe component of epidemiology. This is not mainstream science. It is dangerous. It fits into the political views of certain parts of our confused political establishment. He said, quote, "I'm sure it will be an idea that someone can wrap themselves in as a justification for skipping wearing masks or social distancing and just doing whatever they damn well please."
Now, you see, I like playing clips like that because America has been the land of the home of the free and the brave for so long. Well, not so brave, but the home of the free for so long that even to protect people and their families or others around them, people have gotten so arrogant in this country and so full of narcissism that it's becoming deadly. It's becoming a problem so bad that if Donald Trump wins 4 more years as a president, I'm almost willing to guarantee you at least 2 million people in this country alone will die from the coronavirus. And then there's something else that's going to come along later on in the show. When you find out this, you're going to understand that herd immunity is not going to work. It's not going to work, people. It's never been even tried. Because in order to get herd immunity, you have to have 60 to 70% of the population infected. We only have 5% of the population in this country infected, and already 200,000 people have died. Think about that. Listen to what these people are trying to do.
Trump administration is pursuing as national policy. This is what they want for the country. And you can see it in action. You don't necessarily just have to take their word for it, and you never should. They're not only admitting it, they are also showing you what they mean. They're demonstrating this principle at the president's events, at his no masks, everybody packed together events like the one he did last night in Sanford, Florida. He has been holding another one of these very similar events. Look at this, tonight in Pennsylvania. There's another one scheduled that'll be just like this tomorrow in Iowa. The president has started bragging at these no social distancing, no masks events that he's sure he's immune now from getting COVID since he has had it. That's basically what they are promoting now for the country, that everybody should get it. That'll make you as powerful and immune as the president. You should get it. It'll make you immune. This is what the White House is now leading with as their coronavirus message.
This is foolishness. And a lot of people are going to get killed behind this. A lot of people. Donald Trump is the threat right now in our society that's going to get a lot of people killed. A lot of people killed. I want y'all to listen to what the World Health Organization, the head of the World Health Organization said about this.
Now that the U.S. government is admitting, though, that this will all be immune, flat earth fringe theory is what they are pursuing for the country, the World Health Organization is trying to raise the alarm as well. The WHO director yesterday convening a press conference to basically hammer it home, saying, quote, "Never in the history of public health has herd immunity been used as a strategy for responding to an outbreak, let alone a pandemic. Letting COVID-19 circulate unchecked means allowing unnecessary infections, suffering, and death."
You heard that, plain and simple. Unnecessary suffering, illness, and death. You see, there's something else going on here too that a lot of people are missing out the picture. You see, Donald Trump, he knows if he loses this election, the federal government might not charge him with nothing, because it's been well documented that a president that comes in doesn't usually go after the president that was before him. That's been well documented. And I don't think Joe Biden is going to break from that policy. I don't think Joe Biden is going to send the FBI after Donald Trump. But New York has something for him if he loses this election. The AG, the Attorney General in New York City or New York State, they got they got charges waiting on him. Him and his sons, the whole Trump administration, they got charges. They sitting and waiting to see what happens with this election. And see, Donald Trump is fighting for his life. You can hear the desperation in his voice at some of these gatherings, how he's desperately begging people to vote for him. You know, talking about the suburban women. See, when he say words like suburban women, he's talking about white people or white women. He's not, you know, this is not, don't play no games with this stuff, people. This is a dog whistle. He can't understand why white women in suburbia don't like him. And see, the reason why, I'm going to tell you, Donald Trump, I hope you're listening, because I know whenever you have figures that step up and step out here and start talking bad about politicians, Secret Service watch, you know. So I don't have no doubt in my mind that my show has popped up on somebody's radar. I have no doubt in my mind, but we still have freedom of speech. So they can't do nothing about it. But I'm going to tell you something, Donald Trump, if you're listening, or if any of your people listening, I'm going to tell them. Maybe they can tell you. The reason why white women in suburbia don't fool with you is because they've had young black kids at their house playing with their white kids. They've had their sons and daughters playing football, soccer, and basketball and baseball with their kids. They've picked kids up and taken them home to their parents because the parents couldn't make it up there to pick up their kids. That's suburbia living. You see, I left the ghetto a long time ago. I live in suburbia. I know. I can count on my hand, both my hands, how many times that I've had little white kids, little white girls at my house playing with my daughters. Plenty of times. You know. I've even had them spend a night. That's suburbia. The suburbia you talking about or you thinking about is gone. That 1950s and 40s suburbia where it was just white people, that's dead. I'm going to continue on.
Our country is rocketing fast into a third big wave of COVID. Dozens of states hitting records, hospitals filling up already in multiple states. There is no vaccine. There is no cure, despite the president pretending that there is a cure and maybe it's him. There is troubling new evidence that getting infected doesn't necessarily make you immune. But the most powerful country on earth is nevertheless now admitting that we are pursuing a radical experimental fringe strategy of trying to get our whole population all infected anyway, because maybe we'll be immune if we do that. Could be.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
Me and Bae gon' always be tight, though you not with me every single day and night. Even when they start to acting like a fool, yeah, they loving every single thing you do. You know that they can always be themselves. They love each other more than anybody else. And every day as you see them on YouTube, you know there's not one, it'll always be just two. Two stupid Emily, two stupid Emily, two stupid family. They'll make you scream. It makes me wanna sing. It's a family thing, a family. Two stupid family, stupid family. They'll push your buttons. It makes me wanna cry. It's a family thing, a family. Two stupid family.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
notion is there will be enough people in that community who are immune so that when you go to pass the disease on, you won't be able to pass it on in a way that it will propagate.
That was that immunologist who he's one of the men and women who's on the front lines talking about and fighting against coronavirus. And he's basically telling you people that, you know, herd immunity, you're going to have to get at least 60 to 70% of the population infected. Listen very closely, because you don't even have to be a mathematician to understand this. Listen very closely, people. Right now we have over 200,000 people dead from coronavirus and at least 5 to 10 million sick from coronavirus. We've only had 5% of the population infected. What I just said was, and you can check the numbers. Anybody want to fact check me? Check the numbers yourself. In order to get herd immunity, you have to have 60 to 70% of the population sick with coronavirus. Because once so many people get sick, the coronavirus can't spread no more. We only have 5% of the population infected right now. And already 200,000 people are in the ground dead from coronavirus. I'm going to let that sit on your soul for a second. Do the math. You don't even have to be, like I said, you don't even have to be a mathematician to understand that. 65 to 70% of the population has to be infected. Right now, we only have 5% of the population affected by coronavirus. And already we have 200,000 dead. Think about that. I'm finna get into what this herd immunity is.
When enough people in a population gain immunity, the chances of infecting others goes down. And once it falls below a certain point, it becomes harder and harder for the virus to spread. As a result, the majority of the community becomes protected, not just those who are immune.
Basically, herd immunity is a real thing. Okay? We don't have polio because of herd immunity. We don't have the measles because of herd immunity. So many people got sick by measles, polio, and then they had a vaccine that protected others from it to the point where the virus couldn't spread anymore and it died out. Okay? So basically, we got herd immunity from certain illnesses in this country. A lot of countries don't have herd immunity. You still see measles popping up in Mexico and South America and stuff like that. You don't see measles and stuff popping up here because of herd immunity. The problem with herd immunity when you're dealing with a virus like this is, in order to get herd immunity, at least 2 million people or more are going to die. And death is not the only thing. You get that many people sick with coronavirus, you're going to have people sick for the rest of their lives. Because coronavirus doesn't just kill you. If you live from it, you're going to have heart problems. You're going to have lung problems. You're going to have brain problems. You got people right now who are not shedding coronavirus particulates. I'm using big words on you guys, people. But you got people out here who done had it and they're not shedding the virus anymore. Shedding means giving it to other people anymore. But they're still suffering from the side effects of it. They get headaches every now and then. They have breathing problems. This is some dangerous friend stuff. This is dangerous. I've never seen nothing like this. And I've always known for a long time that, you know, people vote against their own self-interest all the time because they get duped by con men in Congress and the Senate and presidents. I got something else I want to say on that subject. You got a lot of black activists who are coming out who are not going to vote for Donald Trump, but at the same time, they're playing games with Joe Biden because they feel like, you know, this is our time to step up and make demands for black issues. Okay. I'm gonna choose my words carefully. I'm gonna choose my words carefully because I understand where people like Ice Cube coming from, because Ice Cube just recently been in the news because him and Puff Daddy done tried to start some kind of black political party, and they're trying to make demands on Donald Trump or Joe Biden, whoever becomes the next president. They're trying to hold the votes back to see what kind of things are going to be done for the black community. I understand that. I get it. I'm down with it. What I'm trying to say is, for those who is getting an understanding, right now is not the time. Racism aside, we're talking about life and death of family members. Your mom, your auntie, your cousin that has sickle cell, you know, your brother-in-law or your brother that has asthma. We're talking about life and death right now. You see, that virus right there, if this was normal times where there wasn't a major virus going out here in the community killing people, I would be right on their side. Like, yeah, let's hold back some of these votes to see, you know, who gonna do for the black community. I understand that. Right now, there's a choice. You have Donald Trump, who's already done committed to herd immunity, which basically means millions are gonna die because he's not gonna do nothing about the coronavirus. He's worried about money. He's worried about money, something that you cannot take to the grave with you. Let's get this understood. For all of you community people out there, let's get this understood. You see, it's good to have good economic standing in life. That's understandable. You want to have a good economics. You want to have money flowing in your household. All of that, especially in the black community, because we're lagging behind economically. The problem is you can't take economics to the grave with you. You can't take that to the grave, people. My mother told us that a long time ago, and I'm pretty sure, especially if you're in the black community, you know, Big Mama and them already tell you, man, you can't take that to the grave with you. Somebody come up on you and say, man, give me that chain. Man, give it to him. You know, we had a thing back in the 80s where if you had a pair of Jordans on your feet, if you don't take them off your feet too fast, if you take them off your feet too slow, you might get shot, and then they take them off your dead body. They were robbing you for Pele coats, Timberland coats, Jordan sneakers. And people would literally try to fight instead of just, man, here, take it. You want it, take it. That doesn't mean you weak. You can't take it to the grave with you. Same thing with this whole economics and coronavirus thing. Right now, I'm on the side of whoever is finna take care of this virus. I have a mother who's 66 years old. As I'm sure a lot of you out there have elderly mothers too. I be scared to death when my mother tell me she finna go to the grocery store. And I ask her, you got your mask, you good, you got your sanitizer, you got your mask. She said, oh yeah. She said, yeah, baby, I'm good. We got to have an understanding, people, that this is serious. This is not the time to be trying to play around with the vote. This is not the time. I'll forget it to this next clip.
Over time, the virus dissipates and really essentially goes away or circulates at very low levels in that community.
Scientists say there are two ways a population can reach herd immunity: through broad infection or, more commonly, vaccination. To get there through infection, the majority of a population needs to get sick from a virus and develop molecular defenses like antibodies that fight off the disease.
Now, these are doctors who made this commercial, and they're basically telling you how the disease itself can disappear. If everybody gets so sick with it, or a vaccine is made to where people are protected from it like an invisible shield, it doesn't matter who catches it. It can't spread that bad. If one or two people catch it, they either get better or they die, and everybody else moves on without a whole population of people being wiped out. Understand what this is, people. This is mass suicide when you're dealing with Donald Trump. When I looked into that crowd of all of his supporters at his meetings and rallies, I did a show about, I want to say, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And the topic, the headline of that story was, "White America is committing suicide." Go back and look at that show. I touched on this subject just a little bit. I touched on it. Because see, you have this thing in white people's minds that they're not going to die from this, but you are. You see, a lot of us minorities have already caught on that the coronavirus is killing more minorities than it is white people. There's a couple of reasons for that. Reason number one is because we minorities group up more than whites do. A white person will go buy a beautiful house out in the middle of nowhere. You might drive past it on an old country road and see this big old nice house sitting off back somewhere with a long driveway connecting to the house. We minorities group up in cities. And the reason why we do that is because of the 40s and the 50s, when racism was being fought against during the days of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. And we found shelter and togetherness in the cities because we were safe from white oppression. That don't mean we were totally safe, because there was bigotry in the police departments and stuff like that back then too. But when you in a city and you got 1,000 blacks around you and a white guy comes along and try to do something to you, you're going to have 1,000 black people beating him up. In the South back then, if a white person tried to do something to you, you might have 1 or 2 blacks put their head down and walk away instead of helping you. That's why still to this day, we minorities clutter inside of the cities. Even though we don't have to anymore, it done became a habit. I just gave you a little brief history right there. You could take it or leave it. That's just a little brief history of why we minorities cluster around bigger towns and bigger cities. We don't go all the way out and bumfuck nowhere. Not us minorities. We don't do that. Because it has been a history in this country where when you catch blacks out there like that, 1 or 2 things is happening. They either finna get ran out of there, or they're subservient to the whites in that community. You've seen these type of people. You know, you got 20 whites and one black guy or one black girl, and she just as white as they are. You know, act like them, eat like them, talk like them, you know. And I'm not talking about education-wise. What I'm saying is, you know, I've seen black men running around here with Confederate flag t-shirts on. And I'm saying to myself, you don't know your history about what that flag stands for. But that's the plight of black America. Half the population don't have a sense of their history. I'm finna get into the next commercial break. And when we get back, we're going to end it with the last segment of why herd immunity is not going to work. Versatile books and entertainment. I just want to say to Crystal Ellis, me and Crystal been knowing each other since the days we used to go out and hang out in the clubs back in the 80s, in the 90s. And she was married to one of my partners. And right now, I'm giving back to my community. Any small minority businesses in the communities all across America, send me your photographs of your business, information about your business through my email, and I'm gonna make you a brief skit, a brief commercial, and I will leave a link to the description of your business in the bottom below my YouTube channel to let people know where to find your products. Okay? I'm doing this for small black businesses, small minority businesses in the community. Actually, you know what? I'm doing this for any small business inside the minority community. Even if you're a white person that has a small business in the minority community, and I know that you're out here trying to help a cause and help uplift our community, I got you. You know, and the reason why I'm doing this because on one of my last shows, I asked the question. I'm gonna get into this commercial break in just a second, but I had asked the question. We always talk about the inequality in the economics when it comes down to black people. But how many of you can look in your closet and seriously say that, hey, I bought this from that black girl down the street. She has a boutique. How many of you can look in your closet and say, hey, I bought these shoes from this black guy down the street, and he has a shoe store, and they're not name brand, but they fit pretty comfortable. You know, how many of you can say that? You know, and even me, I have maybe 3 pieces of clothing in my closet that I've actually bought from a black owned business. You know, and we got people out here all over the place that are opening up clothing stores. They're doing paintings. I got several people that I've contacted who are black painters. I got black poets. I'm hooking up with Mina G, and we're gonna do a reality show. We have a lot of things lined up for Making Biz. Making Biz is my media company, and we have a lot of things lined up that we're gonna be pushing out here in the community, and it's gonna be some good positive stuff too. But I'm gonna get into this next commercial. This next commercial is Crystal Ellis and Roy Gardner. He's the author of some of these books, and the name of their business is Versatile Books and Entertainment. This is a black-owned business, Versatile Books and Entertainment. I'm gonna leave a link in the description below, or how you can get in contact with them about their materials, and they're out of Jackson, Tennessee. So always remember, people, what I do, you know, I do it for the love of it, man. You know, I hardly get paid for this. You know, if people want to give me donations, you can. If you can't afford it, it's okay too. You know, I'll be back.
The business motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
Patients who thought they had recovered from the coronavirus are testing positive again just weeks later. It's raising questions about whether people can get reinfected and how long their antibodies can last. NBC News health and medical reporter Erica Edwards spoke with some of those patients. Erica, what did they tell you, and what are doctors saying about these cases?
Yeah, so these were patients who were diagnosed with COVID-19 back in March. For whatever reason, they had to get tested again in subsequent months. April and May, they had to get one woman, for example, she's a nurse. She had to have 2 negative tests before she was able to go back to work, which is, of course, important to her. She had those negative tests, but then later on in June, tested positive again. And it's really not clear what's happening. And so far, there's a lot of anecdotal reports of this happening. Either they had false negative tests, or maybe the virus, that first virus, was hiding somewhere in their system, undetected before reigniting again and turning into another inflammatory process, or they truly were infected a second time.
And that's the reason, people, why this whole herd immunity is not going to work. You see, there already are cases of people who got infected back in February and March, and now they've been reinfected. Okay? Then you got on top of this flu season coming, or actually flu season is already here. Flu kills about 50 to 60,000 people a year, on top of the coronavirus killing people. This is one of the most deadliest times in America, and we have no leadership at the helm. This is the reason why I voted, and yes, I voted already. I voted for Joe Biden. I went down there. I didn't see all this intimidation. Don't worry about that intimidation stuff, people. This is not the 50s and 60s. People try to intimidate you down there at the polls. Just tell them where to get off at and keep on moving. You know how to take care of yourself out there, people. Tell them to get out your face and keep on moving. Protect yourself at all times, though. When I went down there, the line was wrapped around the building early that morning. But by the time I got down, there was 5 people in line. I went right in there and voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Plain and simple. I seen Kanye West's name on the list. You see, that's what you call a throw off. I don't know what's going on with this man mentally. I don't care. I've never liked him. And I knew about him when I was in Chicago, when he was selling beats for $50 a pop. before he became a multi-millionaire superstar. You know, I thought he was garbage then. But that's neither here or there. Let's get back into this, people. Herd immunity.
Think about that. If the antibodies don't last longer than that, if people can get infected more than once, I mean, what does that mean for vaccines, for the concept of herd immunity? I mean, it seems like this could have a much larger impact.
Right. So for herd immunity, you would need to have about 60% of the population immune to a certain virus before it would offer that overall community protection that we were talking about. So if immunity is fading so fast in people, you can just throw that concept of herd immunity right out the window.
Basically what she's saying is this whole idea that Donald Trump is trying to push this herd immunity, you could throw it out the window. He's going to get almost 2 to 3 million people killed for nothing. But I'm going to tell you this. Like I said at the beginning of the show, he's fighting for his life. And he don't care if you die or not. He's fighting for his life. He's hoping and banking that there's enough bigotry and hatred in white America that's going to push him over the top and win this election. And right now, the way it looks, he's not going to win, people. So y'all need to watch out for these white militias. Y'all need to watch out for the lone gunmen. And y'all need to watch out for what's happening during the few months before he actually leaves office. Because he has enough time from November 3rd until the time they swear Joe Biden in as the next president. He has enough time to get a whole lot of people killed. Watch yourself, people. That's the best thing I can tell you. Watch yourself. Because every time I step outside my door, I'm watching myself. Because you never know what kind of food is lurking around the corner because he feel like this country is being taken from him. You know, you got people out there that think like that. You got the crazies out here. And they are crazy. But again, I want to thank Crystal Ellis and Roy Gardner for reaching out to me. Like I said, I'm doing free ads for small businesses in the black community for about a year. I don't worry about the money. I have other things going on in my life right now that is producing for me. I'm giving back. I also want to give a shout out to Cassandra Valentine. I met Cassandra through the internet. She was on my Hidden Gems of America, and she has a book out called Southern Girl Cooking. And she also does Afroerotica poetry. She goes under the handle Black Queen Magic. You can catch her on YouTube. I suggest you go check her out. She has some good stuff, people. I mean, it's sensual, it's sexual, but sometimes you got to wind down and take a little personal time for yourself. And she has some very nice poetry out here, people. So you should check her out. But I'm going to wrap this show up. I have a lot of editing and things to do. And we have a lot of things coming down the pike. Just Cause Agency. That's Jasmine Armstrong. Just Cause Agency. And Mina G. She's over the Walk-In Closet and MG Modeling. We're hooking up. We're teaming up to produce a reality show. And this reality show, we're going to follow around black artists and find out how their struggle is to get on in life with their talents and whether they succeed or fail and the struggles that they go through. This is going to be a real reality show. This is not going to be some fake bogus stuff. This is going to be real. This is going to be hard hitting, and you know, we're going to bring it to you. This is not going to be some stuff like Black Ink where it's all scripted. We're not going to do that. We're going to talk about real life, real people, and their struggles to make it out here. All right. And this is the Daily Read, and I'm out.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
in the biz.